This is the last Taking Stock video I'll be doing this week. On Friday and on Saturday you'll get to hear new voices and different perspectives from my colleagues Reverend Ken Chalmers, our acting superintendent, and Reverend Paul Howes, who is one of the supernumerary, that's to say retired ministers in our Colchester circuit. As a way of summing up this first week of close confinement, I want to develop a theme which the two previous videos have touched on. That theme is brokenness. There's an undertone surrounding the all-pervasive nature of the COVID-19, Bradbury's disease, pandemic, an undertone of fear. It's not just fear of the immediate effects of the virus, the deaths, the strain on the NHS and the economy, the lost jobs, the oppressive feeling of involuntary constraint, the physical separation from family and friends, because we know that eventually they will come to an end. It's a fear of what will become of us. A fear that our society will never be the same again, that it will be permanently, well, if not actually broken, then severely damaged. Those fears may or may not be baseless. It's entirely probable that we will take years to recover from the effects, both physical and economic, of this crisis. It's also extremely likely that in 50 or 100 years' time, historians may postulate that this event was the fulcrum on which the story of this civilization pivoted in the 21st century. Like the First World War in the 20th century, and about the same time in the century actually. But where we go from here, how our future is shaped, is very much in our hands today. We need to understand and accept the nature of our brokenness. At the moment we live in a throwaway culture where second hand is regarded as second rate, and where the slightest blemish or imperfection in any implement or possession provokes its rejection. Thankfully we have, in my lifetime, begun to realise that we cannot treat people as we treat our possessions, which, for a species which until very recently in its history accepted slavery, not just as a normal state of being for people, based entirely on their skin colour, nationality or faith, but as natural and even desirable. So that's a large step forward. A bigger step forward is to see each other as we really are, imperfections and all, and still show that same depth of compassion, understanding, I'll use the word, love, which sees our scars and imperfections, the nicks and scratches we all acquire through our lifetimes, not as imperfections to be politely ignored, but as markers to be recognised and acknowledged as part of what makes each one of us unique, each to be treasured. Each fracture, each break, even each loss, makes and shapes us in each moment, recognisably us, but manifestly changed by our life's experience. Human beings are forever adept at viewing the past through the forgetful lens of nostalgia. You can see it in the Bible. Look at the book of Exodus. The Hebrews had spent 400 years in slavery to the Egyptians, who beat them, starved them, oppressed them, enslaved them and overworked them. Through a miracle, the story tells us, and through the leadership of Moses and Aaron, the Hebrews escaped from Egypt. A month or so later, though, faced with the difficulties of being nomads, they turned on the present for the sake of an already idealised past. We read it in Exodus 16, the first 3 verses, which say, "The whole congregation of the Israelites set out from Elim, and Israel came to the wilderness between Elim and Sinai on the 15th day of the 2nd month after they had departed from the land of Egypt. The whole congregation of the Israelites complained against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. The Israelites said to them, 'If only we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots and ate our fill of bread. For you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger.'" The truth is that however much we may mourn the past, however deep the shade of rose in our tinted spectacles, we cannot go back. We cannot change our past or the histories of our humanity. But in understanding our past, we equip ourselves to shape the present and influence the future. Look at this. It's a paperweight. It sits on my desk permanently. I made it when I was 12 years old in my art class at school. I know I made it because, quite apart from having scratched on its base the immortal words Alan Jenkins, M2, which dates it neatly to 1969 or 1970, it also bears on its surface, if you look closely, my 12-year-old fingerprints, baked into the unglazed clay of its base at first firing. The fingerprints, if examined, would no doubt be the same as mine are now, Fingerprint patterns are set in the womb before we are born, but their size is such that these fingerprints are no longer mine. They belong to a 12-year-old boy long since grown up. They are at one and the same time both mine and not mine, and never will be mine again. I cannot go back. We cannot go back. We may not know where we're being led. We may not know the final outcome of the journey for any single member of our human tribe. We may be scarred, broken, crudely repaired, but in those scars, fractures and failings is written the story of our journey together, a story which I'm convinced is, collectively, nowhere near its conclusion. Even if it should be that for any one of us in this current crisis, our personal story on this earth ends here. We know who we are. We know who we were. If we are fortunate, it's in our hands to discover who we will be. Another poem to finish with, but you knew that, didn't you? This is a poem by D.H. Lawrence, which deals with that helpless longing for the past and the power of memory very powerfully. It's called Piano. Softly in the dusk, a woman is singing to me, taking me back down the vista of years till I see a child sitting under the piano in the boom of the tingling strings and pressing the small poised feet of a mother who smiles as she sings. In spite of myself, the insidious mastery of song betrays me back till the heart of me weeps to belong to the old Sunday evenings at home, with winter outside and hymns in the cosy parlour, the tinkling piano our guide. So now it is vain for the singer to burst into clamour with the great black piano appassionato. The glamour of childish days is upon me. My manhood is cast down in the flood of remembrance. I weep like a child for the past. Have a good day.